Welcome into the Bear With Us podcast. A little bit different than the hey guys, the typical bullshit, because this isn't a typical podcast, right? This is
Let's fucking go, Jackie. Let's go!
The live reaction podcast. Well, it won't be live when you listen to it, but
it's live for us.
Just happened. It's live for me and Frank. We haven't even processed it yet. The
Holy
Bears
shit.
have traded down with the Carolina Panthers for the number 1 overall pick. The Bears have traded back to the number 9 pick. In addition, Frank, let's get into compensation and we'll talk through what it means. The Bears get the pick number 61, a first-round pick in 2024, and a second-round pick in 2025. Oh, and also they got fucking DJ Moore. DJ Moore, Frank,
insane.
We were fucking talking about it last year.
Yep.
We were talking about it during the fucking season when all the trades were happening and everybody was talking about, who are some guys the Bears could go out and get. And the number 1 name we were talking about was DJ fucking Moore. I cannot believe, in addition to the picks they got 2 firsts, technically 1, whatever, you're going back to 9.
Right. It's a swap.
But you get a 24 first, you get a 25 second, and you get a locked-in contract wide receiver who is one of the best young wide receivers in the game right now.
Dude, so this is the thing, Jack. We have been talking about, and I think this applies to both of us, maybe me a little bit more than you. I have, as I've learned more about the offensive line prospects, the defensive line prospects, I was getting more and more comfortable with trading out of the top 4. Because remember, initially we were like, we need Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. The more I've learned about people, the more comfortable I've gotten, right? So there's that. But going down to 9, let's say the thing, no one had ever forecasted us getting a wide receiver back in this deal. It's always been picks because we were even thinking the Ohio State kid, Jackson. I don't know how to say his last name. What was his last name?
Smith-Njigba.
People were, and my ideal scenario was, hey, when we trade back with the Colts, we're going to get the 34th or whatever pick that they have. We use that to go get DeAndre Hopkins. We do that to go get one of the older guys who aren't going to be a first. This is better than any scenario that I've dreamed up when it has come to this trade back. This is phenomenal, man. This allows the Bears to get offensive line talent. There's still going to be D-line talent there. But one thing's for certain, I think, again, we're going to see another trade up, I think, for a quarterback, because I was going to save this prediction for our real episode next week. I don't think the Texans are taking one. I think people are going to be calling them to move up. I think maybe the Colts move up to 2 to get either Stroud or Levis, whoever they like best after, whoever goes number 1. So we're shaking the fire. I couldn't be more excited right now, dude.
You really got to be thinking that a lot of teams are punching air right now because, teams like the Colts, now they're stuck behind the number 2 team in Houston, unless they really believe that Houston isn't going to be drafting a quarterback, which always felt like sort of a smokescreen. But one thing I want to talk about is DJ Moore's contract because it's incredibly important. He will be turning 26 this year. He still has
That's what I mean.
Seasons left on the contract, Frank.
Yeah.
And it was 3 for $61 million.
Yeah.
That's nothing, dude.
Jackie.
That's nothing for a wide receiver like this.
You know what else what gets me fucking really excited about this? Is polls put out last week, I know I can get a 24 first and a 25 first. To me, this is me making things up, and that's okay, but it's getting me fucking excited, and it should get everyone else jacked up too if this was indeed the case. He floated that out because I think, they've been having phone calls, but I think he tells Carolina, look, you could save your 25 first. You just give us a 2 and you give us DJ instead. You keep your first and 25 to continue to build around Stroud or whoever you wind up picking. Bryce Young, Will Levis, whoever's your guy at 1. That he has played this fucking perfectly. Like, just think back to some of those clips. I didn't watch full interviews of him at the combine, but just the clips that I saw of him sort of floating this out and floating the dude, he is fucking working it. Now, make no mistake, he has to still build around Fields and build the defense up. There's still work to do here. But if there's a Chicago fan not excited about this, and I just asked someone if they were insane because they were not on Twitter, something's wrong with you. You're not a real Bears fan. Just point blank. Like if this doesn't get you jacked up.
I'm looking right now. So one thing that we should really talk about, Frank, is so pick 61. What is that? That's like the end. Okay, it's like the end of the second round. So you can still get a second round pick, which is after the 53 pick. You know, they unfortunately, unless they do trade back again from 9, which I don't know how likely that's going to be.
Yeah.
You didn't really recover from the Chase Claypool trade unless that ends up working out. But dude, this receiver core now, good Lord. Fucking Darnell Mooney is a wide receiver 2 in this offense. Chase Claypool is your immediate wide receiver 3. And you have a bona fide wide receiver 1. And people might not agree with that in DJ Moore. But dude, you think about the bullshit he was working with at quarterback. He's had 3 1,000-yard seasons already. And last year was arguably his best season in terms of not arguably, it was his best in terms of touchdown total with 7. Like, he's still super raw almost because he just hasn't had a quarterback to throw him the football. And, you know, granted, we still have a long ways to go with Justin Fields in terms of a prospect. But one thing, Frank, I want to talk about, that first round pick, that 2024 first round pick should not just be overlooked. Because if you think about where the Panthers are at as a roster overall, yes, they're going to be getting their top quarterback in the draft. But how much are they going to be able to improve that team? This could be a very low first round pick next year.
Jack, this is I mean, we talked about the comparison between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields. The front office is doing exactly what the Eagles did. Once they bought into Jalen Hurts and they started trading back, they got multiple high draft picks. I mean, this is beautiful. This is exactly what you do. So now next year, if you remember, we were telling everyone, like, getting a wide receiver 1 is a little bit off the table because they all go for first. Like, we don't have that right now because we don't have the roster. Well, we got him now. DJ Moore is the guy. He's a bona fide wide receiver 1. And not only that, he's complementary to the pieces that we have already, which is phenomenal. But now, Jack, we have 2 firsts next year. One that's probably going to be a top 10 pick again, just like you said, Carolina is going to be bad. Maybe they get a little greedy and get another bona fide number 1. You could do whatever. The world is yours at that point. If you've built or you get a bona fide pass rusher next year because you worked on the offensive line this year. I mean, those are on the market for a couple of firsts. Like, this opens up so much. But again, work still has to be done. Bullet trenches need to be built. Justin Fields need to continue to progress. But where we stand right here, right now, this is fucking exciting. This is giving us as fans, us as content creators, us as people who pay attention to the Bears something to watch for, something to be excited for.
What I'm looking for right now is I'm looking to see if there's a way to maybe trade down from 9, and I'm not really seeing anything that would make sense because you have to assume that obviously a quarterback's going number 1. We've known that forever. The Texans at 2, the Colts are at 4, and then you have basically a range of Seahawks, Lions, Raiders, Falcons. Like, the Titans probably wouldn't trade up to 9 because I don't think Levis or Anthony Richardson will be available by then. So you're probably done trading back unless there's an edge rusher or maybe an offensive tackle that somebody really wants to trade up to, to trade up with you at 9. I wouldn't be at this point 9. I'm basically like, trade back as much as you need to, do what you got to do. Kind of wonder if maybe the Jalen Carter news could potentially push him down to 9. It depends on how worried they are about it, you know?
Well, that was the thing too, though, Jack, is remember we were sort of discussing what we wanted to speak about the next couple of weeks, and it was sort of like the high floor ceiling type of thing, like what do you want? And that was going to be sort of my point with Jalen Carter. If legally he's good to go and the front office is comfortable with having him, I thought, because the Raiders news was buzzing as well, like they may trade back with the Raiders, like Carter may be there still.
I would almost think he kind of has to be unless he clears at the very, very top, unless like everybody is like, all right, he's fine. This is pretty small. Then he'll probably go, top 6 at the very least. But again, like we talked about, now what Bears fans need to happen is we need those top 4 quarterbacks to go in the top 10. So that pushes Will Anderson down a spot. It pushes Jalen Carter down. It pushes Skoronski down, depending on what they do in free agency, of course. But man, the more time we spent looking at it, it wasn't so much, they have to trade down no farther than that. Because you remember, that was one of our first conversations when the season wrapped up, is what we wanted the Bears to do. And when we first had these conversations, it was, I don't want them trading past 4. I don't want them trading down past 4. I want them in, specifically at this range. But now it's like, man, after the combine, you saw some guys aren't super far away in terms of ceilings and things. Now you have options. If Peter Skoronski goes to the Falcons at 8, and let's say the Carter and, Will Anderson are gone, at 6 and 7, whatever, in whatever order. Now you can look at Tyree Wilson, or you can look at Jackson Smith-Njigba, because what I will say is I don't necessarily think this discludes them from adding a wide receiver at 9. I don't think you can, if I wouldn't be mad if they drafted a wide receiver at 9, because I still think they need to add some talent to that room, because they're just so devoid, and you don't know what Chase Claypool is going to be.
Right. But you know what, though, Jack? The other thing that clicked in my head when you talked about options that we've yet to discuss, Arizona probably won't be taking a quarterback. I highly doubt they take a quarterback.
Agreed.
The Seahawks are maybe 50-50. It depends on what they're looking like. Detroit, probably 50-50 as well, unless they trade up. The Bears might say, fuck it. We'll swap picks with you and give you one of these seconds to get up and get Will Anderson or Jalen Carter if they're off the board. They have that option now as well. I don't think they would want to give up a future first to only move up a few picks, but that option's on the table now as well. And now you have the draft capital to actually do it, versus like when Pace was doing it, we had nothing and he was just still giving picks up. So yeah, I mean, again, going into this draft, the world was in Ryan Poles' hands, and he got more than I ever imagined he could.
I think what you and I had agreed on was that if they were going to trade back and get a player, whether it was going to be DeForest Buckner or, whoever else.
Michael Pittman, we sort of threw out, yeah.
Michael Pittman. It was going to be, you'd swap picks and then you'd maybe get like a second.
Yep.
He got a first, a second, or he got 2 seconds, I should say, and a player. And granted, going from 1 to 9 should obviously cost a little bit more than going from 1 to 4, or from 4 to 1, I should say. But, here's the thing with Ryan Poles. Like, this is the kind of savviness that I've really thought the Bears have needed for a very long time. That's sort of what we had in Ryan Pace at the beginning. Like, he was making some good trade-ups, for guys that I was like, oh, good, go and get your guy. But there wasn't that savviness to him.
Right.
So, granted, like you said at the beginning, there's still work to be done. Ryan Poles needs to make the correct decisions at 9. He needs to do, draft the best player. But, like, this isn't one of those moves where you're like, why are we trading for DJ Moore? And you're like, no, we fucking got DJ Moore. It's a move that makes sense.
But it feels like, Jack, this is why it feels even better, though. It wasn't like, we just traded a first for DJ Moore. We got a wide receiver 1 as a toss-in. Even like in the listings of these tweets, that guy swap picks, got the 61st to 25. Oh yeah, and DJ fucking Moore, it was in the deal as well. Like, it just feels like they just tossed him in. That's what makes it even better. And again, maybe it's just like the listing on Twitter and the wording of things, whatever it is. But that's literally what it feels like based on all the other rumors. This is fucking amazing. But to your point though, Jack, you know what? And this is really my last thought. And if you have anything else before we get out of here, this makes me think that from the top down, things are changing a little bit, or maybe a lot of bit, because we had the same feeling when Ryan Pace traded up to get Justin Fields. Because remember, we said if he had traded from where were we at 20 that year to like 4 with Atlanta to get Fields, no one would have fucking batted an eye. No one would have blinked. They'd be like, oh, of course, you go up and get your guy. That's your quarterback of your future. And he sort of sat back and waited to make that more. That was the only savvy move he ever had as the Bears GM. But now you're seeing it with Poles as well, with these types of deals. And again, I think even going back from the start with, trading Khalil Mack and all these other things that he did, Robert Quinn in the middle of the year, Claypool being probably the outlier, but that to me screams like the top down is starting to get things, is starting to understand the way things work. Am I crazy for having that feeling?
No, they seem to be operating sort of in the way that we wanted them to for a very long time. We wanted someone to come in who was smart, who understood modern NFL. And granted, again, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We haven't even had a full offseason with where Ryan Poles can execute things that he wants to, right? He only had one offseason where he had to hire a new head coach, hire a coaching staff, bring in his guys, and then basically cut everywhere he could while also trying to find guys on cheap deals and then trading off veteran assets. Like, this is his first full offseason where he can execute a plan from start to finish. And this is an incredibly good first step. Like,
this is fucking...
I still can't believe the Bears got DJ Moore plus another first round pick plus 2 seconds. Like, that's, man, anyone who's disappointed in this as a Bears fan, I really don't know how realistic you can possibly be about what you're looking for. Like, yeah. I don't understand.
So I know people get on the Bears blog for being somewhat of a fake insider. I don't know, but he tweeted 15 minutes ago what I just said. Carolina wanted to add a 24 first. Poles wanted DJ Moore, and Poles didn't budge because of that. So there were other offers that he was able to leverage. I mean, this is the type of finesse comes across wrong because they think like you're finessing another team. That's not what I mean by that, but it's like, this is the type of finesse that you need. You need to be able to have leverage. You need to be able to know how to use that leverage. And we've never seen that from another GM. Again, a GM. Again, this may all come for naught. And we've been saying this, but what I don't want is for people to come across this video and look at Bears fans being fucking excited over nothing. Like, this is something to be excited about, even if it winds up failing 5 years from now and everything goes wrong. These are the process is right. And that's all we have right now. And so things flesh out. So this is execution. Yeah, exactly.
And the last thing I would say, Frank, is tip of the cap one more time to Lovie Smith for getting us that first overall pick, because we don't get DJ Moore for the second overall pick, right? We get maybe half of this haul. So no, this is Lovie Smith. Thank you once again.
Yeah,
Frankie. We're gonna have a lot to talk about on these the next week's edition of the Bear With Us podcast. We appreciate you guys checking in for this live reaction. Bear down, Frank. We got
bear the fuck down, Jackie.
Calm down. I gotta come down from this. This is incredible. I don't think it's gonna happen until next week.
It's not. God damn, I'm so excited.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you later.
Later, everybody. Later, Jackie.
Everybody love everybody!